What's up, everybody? This is John with the Unpaid Gamers, another Car Thoughts video for you. This time we're talking about The Last of Us Part 1. So, I've talked about this a couple times, for various other topics, it being related. But this one, I wanted to do solely on it just because I played it last night for the first time. The remake, that is. So, if you haven't watched any of the other videos, to sum up my thoughts on it, it was first announced, and I thought that the remake was unnecessary. It had already been remastered, the first part. It was originally a PS3 game, remastered to PS4, and then they announced this remake to PS5, and I just kind of felt like it was unnecessary. I felt like, we just had part 2. They updated it for PS5, with those features, which is cool. I mean, that's fine. There's always a certain, balance I think you have to maintain as a developer, in my opinion. How much time do you spend on older stuff and not producing new stuff? So, that's their choice, it's their art, their decision, obviously. But, just from the consumer, it's like, man, I'd really like to have just a new game. Like, we've been through this Last of Us stuff, and I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite series. It's one of my favorite just game in general. It's so well done. We'll get to that in a minute. So I was like, man, I don't know, you're gonna spend the time and remake the first one when I'd really like to see a part 3 or something else new, because all the Naughty Dog games are great. So that was my initial thought. So then, time goes by. I watched kind of some of the promotional development videos and stuff that they put out. And, I did finally kind of understand their reason for doing it, right? They want to tell that kind of cinematic, cohesive story. You had part 2 that they put out with a lot of new technology. They made a lot of advancements with that. Utilizing the PS5 and its special stuff, and they wanted to remake part 1 to kind of match that experience. So you can play through the whole story, part 1, part 2 so far, on the PS5 with the PS5 features, one solid start to finish experience. And and then of course there's always the stuff, and it's always a topic for debate, right? And it holds with any kind of art, I think, whether it's music, movies, whatever. It's always a little bit controversial, and it's revisiting something with new technologies to help create the original vision, right? And just like Star Wars, right? Star Wars in the 70s, and then they had the special editions where they added CG and could do some of the things that just weren't possible then. It's the same kind of thing. And a lot of people have mixed feelings about that. In the end, it is their art, and what they choose to spend their time on and do is up to them, and whatever. We have to kind of respect that to some degree, I think. So having said that, though, I watched kind of their sizzle reel about it, and it seemed like really great improvements, and it got me excited. I was thinking, man, I don't know, I played through The Last of Us Part 1 one time, on the remaster when I got it. I didn't have a PS3, so I got the remaster, played through it, and fell in love with it. It's such a good series. I remember parts, to be honest, but I don't really remember the entire thing. So I don't know, things have a way of seeming a lot more recent than what they are. I'll get to that again here in just a minute. So I watched the sizzle reel. I was like, okay, cool technologies, cool improvements, like whatever, like that's cool. They want to spend time doing it. If I ever went back to play it again, I would like to play kind of the most up-to-date version of it, you know, with the new features and the new graphics, and you know, it would be cool to move through part 1 and part 2 in that way. So okay, fine, sold me, you know. I had, you know, I've talked about this before about getting like Amazon credits and Best Buy credits and stuff like that through my business, and just from purchasing stuff for clients and stuff, and I get rewards, and so, you know, I have to use these points on things. So I use that for The Last of Us. So you know, I'm kind of going in honestly just with me not personally paying out of pocket. I mean, it wasn't given to me by anybody. I just used business kind of reward credits and stuff just to get it. So you know, I don't really have the sour taste that some people may have of paying $70 for this remake. So the full disclosure on that's where I stand. However, you know, I do love The Last of Us. You know, making up my mind to add it to my collection and to have that version. I wouldn't have an issue paying $70 for it, because I love that game series that much. So take that as you will, but that's the situation. So so it came out, I got it in the mail, and I was thinking, man, you know, like, it feels like I just kind of wrapped up The Last of Us not too long ago. I'm moving on to other games and stuff, like part 2 is what I mean. And but then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, shit, no, because part 2, like, I played as soon as we got into our new house that we moved into, which has been 2 years already. So you know, because I got part 2 on launch, so it's been a little bit. So, you know, it's been probably close to 2 years for me playing through part 2, and part 1 was even longer, because, you know, I played it, I think, when the remake came out. Like, I think it was another launch thing for me. So that's been, you know, quite a few years now. And you know, I just wanted to kind of check out the remake and how it was and see how it looked, you know. But man, The Last of Us has a way of roping you in, because I started to just, like, I installed it, and I knew it was going to happen anyway. I mean, I'm kind of full of shit here, because I knew it was going to rope me in. But, you know, I got it, I was letting it install. I'm like, well, I'll at least install and check it out. I don't know if I'm ready to quite dive into it again. You know, I've got some other stuff I'm playing through. But I installed it. I wrapped up Alan Wake, the main game, main episodes, and which, you know, I'll talk about that at the end, because I got an issue. So I wrapped up that. I'm like, okay, what else can I get into? I was like, well, I'll check out this Last of Us here, part 1. So I launched it. So very first launch of playing that, and holy fuck, is it still so good. So, you know, everything, of course, like, graphics aren't everything, obviously, because, you know, I mean, you could go back and play that dated game and it'd still be amazing. But with the enhanced graphics, the enhanced performance, you know, being able to pick up on those performances and stuff, such a powerful game already. And it really amazes me, that game. If you haven't ever played The Last of Us Part 1, I highly recommend you doing it. If you don't care for it, you know, I don't know, don't play Part 2 or something, but at least check out Part 1. So, and I ain't even saying buy the new one. I mean, check out the remastered one. If you have PS3, check that out. Check out a version of The Last of Us. It is so good. But this is definitely the definitive best way to play it, is on the PS5 with that Part 1 remake they just did, seemingly so far. It's the best way. So, you know, when you've loaded up, there's a ton of freaking options, just like accessibility stuff. Like, it seems like you can pretty much play it any way you want to play it. with sound, with HDR, with the visuals, with, you know, subtitles. You know, I'm a weirdo from back in the GoldenEye days. For whatever reason, I play stuff inverted, and it's just muscle memory. So, like, you know, every game has that, but I go in and turn on the inversion on, you know, the up and down axis, the y-axis, or whatever. So, if you ever see me start a game on like Leisure Play, if you watch, that's what I'll do. I'll invert the up and down. I don't know why. I can play the other way. I just got to get used to it. And I don't know. You know how it is, that stuff. Try picking up an inverted one if you're not used to it. And you're like, what the hell am I doing? Your brain just don't hardly want to grasp it. So that's just how I prefer. That's what I'm used to. So I always invert every game like that. But anyway, there's tons of other stuff. Tons of other stuff. And like I said, about any way you can play it, want to play it, it's there. From, you know, reticle to, you know, like the adaptive trigger stuff, like if you don't want to hold buttons, you know, you can set like those kind of options to toggle and whatever the fuck. It's pretty much, it's there if you've seen it in other games. And even additional stuff. There's one of those kind of prep sizzle reels they do behind the scenes making of, and it talks about some of those accessibility features. And I think it's like the first game ever to include narration over cutscenes and stuff, like the whole entire game. I don't know really, but that's what they said, and it's probably true. And some of that stuff, I'm even thinking, like, who uses this? Like, I'm sure there's, I don't mean to be that way. I'm sure there's very valid reasons. I assume, you know, if I was had impaired vision and stuff, I would probably still want to experience these stories and stuff. So, like, if somebody else was playing it and then the cutscenes are there and it narrates that, like, that's cool. I kind of don't really know how all of those situations apply, but, you know, that's my ignorance. Like, it's there. If you need it, it's going to be there. More so than seemingly any other game. So, you know, you get through that, a few questions to start, how you kind of want to experience it, and then the game starts. And, you know, it has the Left Behind DLC expansion to it. Hold on. You know, I talk about this part multiple times, where people don't know how to merge, so I'm at the spot that is always like a hiccup, and merging over here. So okay. So anyway, you know, it includes that DLC chapter if you want to play it, but you know, you can start playing right away, I'm pretty sure, but you don't want to do that unless you go through the main game anyway. So you start the game, and it of course starts in cinematic fashion. You know, high detailed cutscene sets up the story, and fuck, man, it's so emotional. Like, to start, like, it really amazes me on how well they set some of this up, like the intensity and the feeling you get from some of the characters so quick, because you know, it's like 10 minutes, and 10 minutes into the game, into like the, you know, game cutscene kind of stuff, you're just introduced to characters for the first time, and you know, something happens right away. If you don't want to play it, just check out like the Leisure Play, the very first part 1 I did of that yesterday, and just give it a watch and you'll see. But the performances are amazing. Something happens, it's terrible, and it just gets you right in the feels. Like, it's such an intense moment. I don't know, it's like just so good, so well done, and grips you right from the beginning, I'll say. And you know, another thing, notice it, talking about the graphics and stuff. So, you know, there's multiple options with that. You can do like film grain on and off, motion blur on and off, all that stuff. There's the fidelity mode, there's the performance mode. If you watch the Leisure Play, I was kind of flipping back and forth a couple times to see the difference. I was really playing, when I got PS5, most games I would start out playing like the fidelity mode, just to kind of check out the best looking graphics I can. But really, the performance mode usually is a very small difference. It's almost not even noticeable. But the performance part, locking something at 60 frames a second, is a noticeable difference. So that's what I'm leaving it on. It just feels so good when you're playing a game at 60 FPS and not like the 30 or variable or whatever. So I'm leaving that on. I left the film grain on, which I'm normally not a big fan of. It just looks better without it. And I get like adding, the cinematic flair to things and whatever. Oftentimes I'll turn it off. I am leaving it on for now. We'll see if I leave it on the entire game or not, but I have it on. So that's what I'm playing on, is performance and with film grain and like default settings basically. But all that stuff's there. You can do that. And still though, I will say one of the most impressive things I've seen, you're greeted with this part like through town and stuff, and shit starts happening, hitting the fan all around you, and there's some like explosions, and the fire in that game is so freaking good looking. That's something that always impresses me when there's like a graphical leap in something, when next generation of stuff or a new big blockbuster game, like how they do the fire, because it's so hard to get it to look right, and if you look at old games, you'll see why, right? Like it looks so terrible most of the time. But the fire is absolutely amazing. So again, if you don't want to play the game, don't care about it, check out the Leisure Play. That very first part is within the first 5 or 10 minutes. You'll see some really killer fire effects in that, and beyond that, it just looks amazing, that game so far. And such great storytelling. The combat and everything feels great. The controls, it's pretty standard kind of controls. Some things are a little odd placed, and I don't know about everybody else, but like when I jump from game to game sometimes, like I've been playing Alan Wake, so like muscle memory has me hitting some stuff a little bit. So like there's one part you'll watch, if you're watching the whole playthrough and pay attention, I go to attack somebody and like I shoot them, but then I like immediately swing a 2x4, and it was just like a muscle memory thing. I was hitting the wrong button because I'm used to doing it on Alan Wake. So but yeah, some of those gameplay choices, some of the control stuff, it's so well done, so well executed. They do some really great stuff like with stealth, and the combat solid. The guns are serviceable. I mean, it's not like first-person shooter, feeling that weight. I actually really like the way those guns and stuff feel in Alan Wake quite a bit. Like they feel a little more heavy and powerful and stuff. And I don't know. I'm not down in Last of Us at all, but like they almost don't feel as powerful. But they do still feel satisfying. And what is way better than Alan Wake is like just the way the enemies react. You shoot somebody, you'll see their skull react to your bullet, and blood shoot across whatever, and pools of blood and stuff like that. There's some of that kind of dismemberment stuff there, which you can turn off, by the way, if you don't want. And that's another thing. There is a setting for, it's a gore setting, and it's all lumped in one, but you can turn off gore, which also turns off like nudity and stuff like that. I don't remember how much is in the first one. In the second one, there is a very graphic scene. So, if you have younger ones playing it, maybe be prepared for some of that. Check that out a little further, because I don't remember too much of what's in Last of Us Part 1, but Part 2 definitely has some graphic stuff, and I believe that setting was in it as well to turn that off, but maybe not. If not, it's probably been updated to have that. That'll be something I'll probably just glance at. I always leave all that on because I'm a sucker for gore and dismemberment and all that good stuff, nudity, whatever. So I'll leave as much of that on as I possibly can. But I will, I'm curious to see if part 2 has it. So, but the gunplay feels well enough. You know, they use the adaptive triggers, and you know, like when you use a bow and stuff, it definitely uses the adaptive trigger on the tension for the bow. So that's really cool. You know, just gameplay mechanics wise, if you never played Last of Us, it's a great way of doing stuff. It plays up the stealth. It's not all stealth. It doesn't feel as annoying as what other games have it, but it is a heavily stealth based game. You can do some run and gun stuff too. The story's amazing. There's lots of you know, I like the way they do some stuff. Like, you know, it's annoying from a player standpoint to a certain degree. Like, you know, you're trying to navigate around enemies and stuff, and you can throw bottles and things like that to distract enemies, but, you know, there's not an infinite supply of it. You can only carry like one thing or something. So, you know, it keeps it pretty realistic with that stuff. You know, if you have items, weapons on your inventory, you'll see them on your character model. You know, I had that 2 before I mentioned that I grab, and you could see it on his back, you know, when he's walking around before you use it. And, you know, things, you don't get a shit ton of ammo, you don't get a shit ton of supplies, like things break when you use them. It keeps you on your toes. It's very well done, and in my opinion, it's never like annoying. It's just the right amount of kind of tension and stuff like that. So that's mostly my first impressions. You know, I set out to kind of check it out and ended up playing it like an hour and a half or something. Hour, a little bit over an hour at least. Whatever that leisure play is, that's what I played. And roped me right back in. So I guess I'm going to play through The Last of Us now. And, you know, truthfully, I'll probably really enjoy, you know, it won't be the only thing I'll play. I'll play some other stuff along with it, but as far as kind of my main narrative based game, that's what I'll be playing through. And it'd be very cool to play through both The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 kind of back to back, because, you know, when I did it, it was a couple years apart because I played it at release. You know, I didn't go back and play through 1 when 2 came out or anything like that. I do that sometimes with games, but I didn't do that. So it'd be cool to play it kind of start to finish like that. Yeah, I'm really excited, super excited for the HBO series that they're doing. So that'd be cool, you know, and kind of refreshing my memory on the events of 1. I don't know if the series is going to be, you know, a shot-for-shot kind of remake of the game, or if they're just kind of basing it off of that. So again, refreshing my memory is cool either way, because it, you know, lets me know what's going to be different with that stuff. So that's my impressions on The Last of Us Part 1, I guess. Love it so far. You know, the value stuff, the necessity of it, whatever, decide for yourself. Sometimes, you know, you can debate that stuff, and in the end, who cares, right? Like, if you don't want to spend your money on it, don't spend your money on it. At least play The Last of Us Remastered or something, if you haven't played through the series at all, because it's amazing. Play it on PS3 if you only have that. Play a version of it. I'm not going to say go out and buy the new one if you don't feel good about it. But, you know, as somebody who didn't play it on the PS3, only played it on the remaster, revisiting it again in this way, it's been amazing so far. And, you know, if I would have paid the $70, I would have felt fine about it. So that's me, but, you know, everybody values these things differently. So by all means, make that decision for yourself. But as far as the product goes, it's great so far. I highly recommend The Last of Us Part 1 in some form or fashion. So Naughty Dog's done a great job. I'll keep you updated. Maybe, you know, as it goes, I might do another video about it. But that's my first impressions. I mean, there's not really much else to say. Either you like it or you don't. I know what I'm in for because I played both of the games already. So I don't really expect to be surprised in that sense, other than, you know, a new, like, PS5 feature, right? Like, they use the adaptive triggers in cool ways. The DualSense like stuff. One thing I tell you, you know, the vibration stuff has been super impressive so far. And if you haven't ever played a PS5 game at all and used that stuff, You know, it's kind of hard to really just well, it's not really hard to describe it. It's one of those things you got to experience for yourself, I think, to really appreciate. And you know, one of the examples, like noticeable examples for me, I was walking. Jeez, fucking roadhog. I was walking through this like basement, and there was like a generator over there. Nothing interactive, nothing to do with it. It was just a generator over to the side of the basement. And people are fucking crazy out here today. I don't know where they're going. Just generator over to the side. I walked by, and again, I had nothing to do with it, but it really surprised me because sorry, I'm just getting where I'm going. It really surprised me because I could feel, of course, the vibration when I was near it in the controller from the generator running. But not only that, but I also felt the vibration move around as I moved around, if that makes sense. So like I passed by it, I felt it in the controller, and then I walked away to the right of it, you know, to go on, and I could feel the vibration move across the controller to the correct side of where it was in the distance. And like cool things like that are just it adds to the experience in such a neat way, and something I just wasn't expected. I mean, I know, you know, they talk about doing a lot of those features and adding that stuff in, but if you haven't experienced, it's just very, very cool. It's a super small thing, but a lot of stuff like that, you know, you just feel a lot in the controller, and to feel things like that move across in different parts of the controller, like it within itself kind of orientates where things are, you know. So if you're playing that, you're playing with a 3D headset with surround sound or whatever, all of it combined, it just adds such an experience. So it's the way to play, I tell you. So again, that's pretty much it for Last of Us. Real quick about Alan Wake. So I played through the main story, and then there's the 2 DLC episodes. I say DLC because that's what they were back in the day. If you get the remastered, they're just built in there. And I started playing through the first part, and I don't know, it's like the difficulty just ramped crazy up. And, you know, I was getting through it. It's not like it was too hard for me or anything. I just don't, you know, I don't really enjoy challenge modes in games so much. Like, I you know, play games to relax, and I don't mind stressful situations sometimes in games, but I don't really enjoy like super hard difficulty games. It's not my thing. Like, I can play them, I can get through them, I just don't enjoy it. And I started playing through that, and like it made no sense, that difficulty ramp up. Like, you know, you would have enemy encounters in the main game, and even towards the end of the main game, you know, some pretty hefty encounters with some boss people, or boss type of situations. You know, some of the heavier enemies, you would get, you know, 2 or 3 of them coming at you at a time or something like that. And but for the most part, the enemy battles were manageable. You know, you get a couple people that come at you, you beat them, you move along, whatever. It's more about the story and the experience, stuff like that. I know there's multiple harder difficulties, but this, like, it just all of a sudden ramped up when you play it. Like, every single enemy encounter was like, you had no supplies, you had surrounded by as many enemies as they could throw at you, and there was like no reprieve or no like kind of easier enemy encounters, if that makes sense. And again, you know, I was making my way through it. I would die a couple times, play through it, beat that encounter, go on to the next part, go through it. It just became not enjoyable because of that big spike in difficulty. And I don't know, it was really weird. I guess, you know, they released it as more of an extra challenge for a player if you beat through the game. I'll probably kind of read through that stuff and make sure I didn't miss anything on the story wise, but I just wasn't really enjoying it. I mean, it was kind of a cool setup and like story that it was playing out, that episode stuff, but I didn't feel like I wanted to mess with it, so I stopped that. So that's why I'm not streaming those. By all means, if you wanted a different challenge or whatever, you know, check those out if you beat the game. You might not find it that hard, It was just more frustrating than not for me. And you know, I don't put games on easy. I play them kind of normal or default, just kind of as they're intended. But I'm not a super hardcore player. Like, I'll beat something and then go back and play all the difficulties and get the hardest. You know, there was a time where I did all that stuff, and I just don't care about it anymore. I just want to experience the game and play through it and then move on to something else, because there's so much out there. I don't want to, you know, unless it's something that is really my favorite, I'm not really worried in that aspect about it. So anyway, I'm skipping that. But even Alan Wake, the main game and stuff, there's multiple difficulty levels. I played through on normal, and I think there's like 2 more above that. And then those DLCs, they really ramp up the difficulty on with no supplies, and it's definitely more challenging. So let's deal with that. So I'm probably done streaming Alan Wake, and done with that for now. I'll be messing with Last of Us, and we'll see what else I throw in there. You know, there's some other bigger games coming out within the next you know, couple months, and I want to try to at least continue streaming something that has like some kind of tension, horror elements, stuff like that for the season. Last of Us is definitely like a little bit of that survival horror kind of stuff, so it fits the mold. We'll see if I add something else to the mix. You know, I bounce around fairly often, but I've been trying to do these playthroughs, and I definitely want to experience Last of Us part 1 and 2 back to back. So that'll tie me up for a little bit, but I'll keep doing some car thoughts for sure, and probably streaming some new stuff in between. So that's what's up. Tom, I believe, still has no voice from his recent COVID bout, but I'm sure he'll be streaming stuff fairly soon. I keep saying that, but you know, lots of life stuff happening, and then he got COVID, and that's been holding him up. But he'll do some videos, we'll do more together, and I'll continue streaming. So that's what's going on with us. Stay tuned for more videos. If you have anything to say, just put it in the comments. Other than that, until next time, see ya.